And joining us now to discuss the latest out of Venezuela, we're being joined now by Associate Professor at George Mason University, Guadalupe Correa Cabrera. She's also the author of this book, Los Zetas, Inc., Criminal Corporations, Energy, and Civil War in Mexico. Professor, thanks for being with us today. So moments ago, President Trump just extended the sanctions against Venezuela, which were imposed on the country originally in 2015 during the Obama era. What's your reaction to this move by the U.S.?
Well, it's an extreme pressure. It's exercising extreme pressure to suffocate the current government of Venezuela. And that might have an effect. I mean, they tried to enter the country with humanitarian aid, hand in hand with Juan Guaido and the opposition of Venezuela. They have been in talks with them, but they haven't been successful. So now the economic sanctions is the way that, to exercise more pressure for Maduro to leave and for his coalition to dissolve.
Now, self-proclaimed President Juan Guaido had safe passage back home into Caracas yesterday with very little security. Nicolas Maduro could have very easily had him arrested. Why didn't he?
I don't think he could, because he was accompanied by the ambassadors of different countries, and with a humanitarian, a way to prevent that from happening, and that would give ammunition to the to the people who want to see him leaving, right? And so I believe that he doesn't think that this was the correct strategy, because that would give also, the United States, the opposition, more ammunition to legitimize.
So he didn't want to play into their plan, probably.
Exactly. Probably it was a plan, and it was good that he was left alone. He was treated with courtesy, and he wasn't given the treatment of somebody who has self-proclaimed as president of a nation without any election.
Maduro is very wary of any so-called aid coming from the U.S. for obvious reasons. But from the accounts that one of our own reporters who was on the ground in Colombia was that aid in Venezuela is needed in the way of loosening the U.S. sanctions, as you just spoke of at the beginning, because it's got to choke on the economy. That's what's truly hurting the people, not that they need, paper plates and food, basic food goods, that they need their economy to fix itself. Do you think that's an accurate assessment?
I definitely believe that's an accurate assessment. With the economic sanctions, how a country is going, with that type of economic sanctions, with with England, taking the reserves of gold. That's really playing against Venezuelans, and this has been happening since 2015. These economic sanctions have exercised a lot of pressure on the economy and the government and the society of Venezuela. So that's correct. It's not just like they are coming as to save Venezuela. It's just sometimes political and economic. When there's an economic interest, you see humanitarian aid flowing. Humanitarian aid can be also flowing to Honduras, for example. You see people leaving the countries in caravans. It's true that Venezuela is experiencing a humanitarian crisis that's allowing people to leave. But what is happening here? It has to do with economics. Exactly.
So you would say the source of the humanitarian problem, that the growing humanitarian need, is stemming mostly from economic problems.
Mostly from economic problems, mostly from economic sanctions. Of course, also we have to be honest with regards to the levels of corruption that have been important in the previous and this administration. But the main source of the deterioration of the economy in Venezuela is definitely economic sanctions, and they were perpetrated and were initiated by the United States.
Now, Guaido seems to be stirring up tensions, because when he came back to Caracas yesterday, he was calling for more protests. Is this a wise move, given that so many civilians have already been injured and hurt and died in these protests?
Yes, he's calling for violence, and that's worrisome. He was offered negotiated.
For talks with Maduro.
Exactly. With talks with Maduro through Uruguay, through Mexico, the United Nations. Pope Francis has also offered like a negotiated exit. From this. So yes, he's incited more polarization. I believe that everybody has a part here, and they can sit down and talk about it. But this time, the opposition has not wanted to do that.
He's calling for, like you said, protest and violence, and that doesn't seem like a sound argument to make if you're supposedly the self-proclaimed president of a country, right?
Exactly. He's calling for violence in so many ways, and also part of the oppositions are talking about military intervention now. I mean, that was something that happened after the failed attempt to bring humanitarian aid and to bring with that, more militarization and cause of an internal problem. I am concerned when you are talking about fragmentation of your economy and people that are very angry. An encounter with two blocs, and we have to appeal to peace and to dialogue instead of
stirring tensions as he was doing yesterday.
Exactly.
Obviously condemning that, calling for peace. Thank you so much, Professor Guadalupe Correa Cabrera. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.